r/ask Reddit. What things did you do as a kid that you now realize is extremely weird? When I was around 8 years old, I liked the way clean towels tasted. Something I really enjoyed was putting a towel over a straw and drinking Kool-Aid through it. My mother wasn't a fan of having white towels covered with red spots, so she put a stop to it pretty quick. I liked how clean towels tasted too. I'd get them wet and suck the water out of them for a nice beverage. Holy shit, I did this too. I would never have remembered it, but after reading this it kind of flooded back memories of wetting a washcloth in the shower and sucking on the water. I don't think I drank it, but the taste was very distinct and not like anything else I can think of. I used to stand naked in my bedroom window and try to stay as still as possible so the neighbors would think my parents had had a statue made of me. I would stand in different poses, too, so they'd think there were multiple Dendronite statues which my parents would rotate around the house. The way I saw it, only important people had statues built of them. I wanted the neighbors to know they lived near a pretty important guy. I'm imagining your neighbors in a moral crisis as they try desperately not to look at the new child across the street, but it just keeps reappearing in different places. Found a cat skull buried in the garden. Pulled the teeth out and put them under my pillow for what I thought would be easy money. God damn it, if the tooth fairy hadn't been surprised, I don't know what will surprise her. Imagine being your parents. Where did they get those teeth? Madge, whose teeth are they? When I was a kid, in the 80s, I had very strict teachers. Any form of backtalking or, God forbid, swearing, would get you a quick slap and a fast march to the head teacher's office to explain yourself. My teacher once sat me down for a talk, as happened fairly often, which was basically her just berating me. In the middle of this she suddenly stopped and told me I needed to keep my eyes under control, because I had this terrible nervous habit of twitching my eyes when she was talking to me. In actual fact, I was tracing out imaginary swear words with my eyes. Basically, drawing out things like piss off and shut up, tracing the letters with my eyes as if they were right in front of her face. I didn't realize she could see my eye movements. I mean, I don't know why. As an adult it's obvious that my eyes were darting all over the place and looking crazy, but child me thought that it was subtle enough that it was unnoticeable, and that I was being super sneaky. As soon as I realized she could see it, I stopped. But looking back, probably the funniest part to me now is how much it must have unnerved her, and she never did know the reason for it. To her, I must have just been the weird kid with the crazy eyes. Oh my goodness, I just tried this with my eyes. I'm sorry, but you must have looked insane. This is so funny. I used to have science experiments in the bathroom sink, meaning, I'd go to the bathroom and lock the door. Once in I'd make sure the sink drain was shut and then proceed to add every cleaner/chemical shampoo etc under the sink to the sink in hopes of a reaction. Never got one. But it also never stopped me from trying. In hindsight I probably could have killed myself if I had mixed the wrong stuff. I obviously didn't. Holy hell, I did exactly the same thing. Mum got mad ASF at me many times. In grade 1 we would sit in a group on the floor in front of the teacher while she read us stories. I would sit at the back of the group against the wall and pull my pants halfway down my bum. I liked feeling the cool ground wall against my bare butt. When I was in elementary school I would use one hand to cover my butt when I showered because I was afraid that a monster would walk through the bathroom wall and attack my butthole. When I was around 5, I would basically act like a train and follow the lines on the playground whilst also using my hands as those little rail things on the wheels, coupling rods. I would also look directly up when it was cold and use my mouth as a chimney. Honestly, it must have looked like I was insane. That's funny as hell. I would walk out the bathroom after taking a shit and spread my ass cheeks to whoever was in the living room and ask, "Is my butt clean?" One time it was the guy cleaning our carpet. Imagine cleaning some person's carpet and out of nowhere this gremlin of a child hobbles out of the bathroom, spreads his cheeks, and asks you to tell him how clean his a-hole is. This comment actually made me laugh out loud. How absurd when you picture it from that guy's perspective. I used to eat mechanical pencil lead. No idea how I got into that habit, but I think I enjoyed the crunchiness of it. Did it for a little while, but showed a classmate and she immediately went to the teacher, who then called my mom, who scolded me and told me to stop. Goodbye 0.7mm. You will be missed. Damn snitches ruin all the fun. I, a girl, used to sit back to front on the toilets to pee. My reasoning was that way it sounded like my dad peeing and then the monsters wouldn't try to grab me. Childhood anxiety is wild. Then you have a place for your comic books and your chocolate milk. I used to keep the last piece of food I was eating in my mouth even for an hour. For example, if I was eating pizza, the last piece of the last slice would remain in my mouth while I went playing and running around. I stopped at the age of 9, when I almost died of asphyxiation. I would do that too, but never to that extreme. I would do it with my favorite snack and stuff, but I always ended up swallowing it after 5-10 minutes. Saying some gibberish all the time and thinking that it is probably meaningful in some languages. I felt smart as hell. I used to make random noise and word combinations and get into really weird contorted poses to be the only one to ever do this. That sounds familiar. I used to touch random things at unusual spots wherever I went, like the bottom of a railing or one single leaf on a clover field, because, who knows, maybe I was the first to ever touch this. I didn't know that people could see my eyes move and used to have my head in one direction and look with my eyes somewhere else. It wasn't before a girl saw me looking at her and said, "What are you looking at?" I figured that out. I was 7 or 8 years old and my mind was blown. My eyes move? A guy did this in school and was looking at a teacher in an inappropriate place and she called me out in front of the whole class. I hate child me. I lived in an apartment building on the 3rd floor and was basically facing a very busy street. The street was called Main Street. Anyway, it was a newer luxury building, so it had long, wide windows. I would always stand on my windowsill and look out. One day I decided it would be a great idea to just get completely butt-ass naked and stand in front of the window and press my naked body on the window. I have no idea what the duck I was thinking. I have no idea who the duck saw me until this day. I have no idea why I ever did such a thing. Thanks for the likes. Unfortunately, this still isn't the worst of weirdest thing I've done. I've done something that I find so sickening I didn't want to share it with the web. I was a ducked up little girl. I would come up with all sorts of supernatural and conspiracy theories to explain the world around me. I thought people were spying on me. If anyone laughed outside while I was on the toilet, I'd be convinced that they could see me and were laughing at me. I wouldn't characterize it as paranoia. It was more like extreme self-centeredness. I had trouble comprehending that there was a world out there that didn't involve me in any way. This went on until I was about 15-16, I think. I used to waste a shit ton of water by turning on the shower and lay on the floor next to it with a towel over my body and fall asleep with a tiny bit of water splashing on my face. I used to imagine I was in a cave and it was raining outside for some reason. Our good times. My parents' shower had a seat in it and I would always hide under it to get out of the rain. I ate cupcake wrappers after finishing the cupcakes. Like I would just suck on it, the paper ones, and chew until there was zero flavor, then spit it out. Oh wow, I used to do this. I'd forgotten until I read your comment. I can taste the papery cake crumbs now, aha. Just making sure I got every last bit of sweet cupcake. Pooped my pants. Then picked the poop out of my underwear and hid it under the sofa so my parents wouldn't know. This makes me not want kids. I for some reason had one mission as a kid. I would try my best to make people believe I was the smartest kid ever. I would talk gibberish to make people think I could talk another language. I would also make words up to give the impression that my vocabulary was so advanced. But it all backfired when I lost the spelling bee in the first round, then I failed first grade. I was a sad kid. Had an imaginary friend that I would make bets with, that I was guaranteed to win. The prize being ludicrous amounts of imaginary money. Hey Joe, I bet you $1,000,000,000,000,000 I can hold my breath for 3 seconds. God, I was rich back then. I have a memory of when I was maybe 3 or 4. I tried to nurse a kitten Mayo. I'm a grown man and made the mistake of letting a kitten sleep on my bare chest. Oh look, it's moving around. Then it latched onto my nipple. Oh the pain. My wife thought it was hilarious. Not me, but my partner used to keep kiwis, the fruits, as pets. He would name them and take care of them until his mom took them to blend into a smoothie. That was a rude awakening for him. Glad you clarified that his mom wasn't blending New Zealanders into smoothies. Piss on my closet floor. Lol, I did the same when I was 5. Mom was like, don't ever leave your closet open. The cat pissed inside while you were at kindergarten. When I was a wee lad, I would wander about the house naked and pull back me foreskin to show visitors. I don't do that anymore though. Why not? Because he doesn't get visitors anymore. I would wash things made of rubber, like the kind of rubber that already feels slightly tacky, then pat it dry with a really fluffy towel so the rubber would get kind of fuzzy from the towel fluff. Then I would just touch it until the fuzz wore off. Turns out I was just autistic and no one had figured it out yet. I still have a thing about textures, but in a much less weird way. I was too opposite. Textures like that make me really uncomfortable and used to make me feel very overwhelmed, so I'd try to either wash it till it went away or try to keep it constantly wet so I couldn't feel it as much. A few years ago, I was visiting my aunt and uncle, and they had some old film from the 80s of my extended family on a camping trip. There was a full playset there including a trampoline, and my mother was filming my cousins and I playing. I'm not sure why my aunt and uncle had the tape instead of my mother, but whatever. I was about 3 at the time, and my mother panned the camera away from my cousins playing on a swing set towards me on the trampoline. Except I was lying face down on the trampoline, full on thrusting my hips into it as hard as I could. Now, I don't specifically remember doing that, but I have a pretty good idea of how my little mind worked at the time. I'm certain that I was just trying to see if I could build up enough force to lift myself off the trampoline mat, or flip myself over. Still, not exactly the best thing to be watching with your aunt and uncle, who threatened to save it and show at my wedding. Joke's on them. I pocketed the tape when they weren't looking. Several friends and myself had a fascination with writing in code. We had little pocket notebooks full of codes and deciphering instructions, also in code, and would write volumes of notes between us in code. Notebooks got confiscated by a teacher. We wouldn't tell her how to decode. She tried to get us in trouble. Parents thought it was hilarious. I'm almost 60 and I still have one of these notebooks around somewhere. That's awesome. When I was a kid I always wanted to make my own secret language but couldn't think of how to do it. When I was in 3rd grade I would dress as Little Bo Peep while I took my poodle for walks and ask my neighbors if they have seen my other sheep. That's kinda adorable, not gonna lie. Found out that the air had germs in it and tried not to breathe too much. I would go out to my local cemetery and talk to dead people. I would find someone whose anniversary it was, either birth or death, and just wish them well. I don't think it's weird now. I still do it, but I definitely thought it was weird at the time. I did this as a fully grown adult at the Ground Zero Memorial. They put flowers in everyone's name on their birthday, and once I learned that I had to walk around the entire thing, look for the date and touch the name while wishing them well. It was quite emotional. Purple was my favorite color, but I didn't like the word, so I called it Murdelop. There were spiders and mice in my room which totally freaked me out, so every night before I went to sleep I'd whisper a report of what the weather was outside to encourage them to go outside rather than stay inside and bite me in my sleep. Wearing velcro strap shoes so tight they'd probably cut off the circulation in my feet because I was worried my shoes would fall off. I used to eat butter straight out the tub too. My 5-year-old niece has started doing it. Maybe it's a family trait. In 2003 for roll call I always replied with a different Star Wars quote. Made it my mission to never repeat a line. I used to steal things from my sister when she was mean to me, and then hide them by sewing them into her stuffed animals. She found out a few months ago and was really freaked out. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.